Hi, it's Tom again, and we're going to proceed with the tutorial 1 video exercise, Structs, Methods, Arrays, and C#. So what I've done at this point is I've just created a C# console application. I happen to have called mine, I've got this big long-winded name, Structs, Methods, Arrays, all in Pascal case as per our style guide. I have an opening comment. I'm sort of going back to our C days. I'm using these Javadoc style tags. I don't do that consistently in this course actually, but any rate, with a little description and some information there. I'm sort of ready to go. So you may want to pause the video at this point to just create your own solution, give it an appropriate name, and then we'll come back and get started. Okay, if you're back, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to deal with these two methods, percent to letter grade and percent to description. So again, they both are going to take a double argument. They're both going to return a string. That string might say invalid if the grade isn't in range. Otherwise, it's going to follow this particular chart. So this is, I think, a fairly easy thing to do. So let's go back to Visual Studio and make this happen. So I've just started with some summary comments here. We'll start off with percent to letter grade. It converts a percentage numeric grade to a letter grade. The parameter coming in is going to be a numeric grade, and it'll return a letter grade if it's valid and invalid if not. I've also got a reference here to the Durham College grading policy that just is a place online where that particular chart exists. So, creating a method. First off, I want this to be a public method. So I'm going to start off with the keyword public. It's a static method, meaning that although it's part of the program class, I don't necessarily want to, have to create a program object in order to call this. It returns a string. We decided it was going to be called percent to letter grade. So that's what I'll call it. And as a parameter, it takes a double. I'm going to call it percentage grade. And then, of course, in camel case, following our style guide, and the braces for the actual body. Okay, so right now it's warning me, okay, that it's supposed to be returning a string, and right now it doesn't return anything. So we'll come back to that. So the next thing I'm going to do, you don't need to watch me type everything here, is I'm going to create a couple of, this is my declaration section, so I'm going to create a constant called min grade as 0 and a constant called max grade as 100. Both of them, of course, are doubles, as well as a string called str feedback, okay, which I'm going to make invalid by default. This is what ultimately I'm going to return. One of the things that I can do to sort of make one of those warnings go away is I can code that last line of the method, which is going to be, return str feedback. So at least one of my warnings goes away. I've got a couple of new ones now complaining that I haven't used min grade or max grade. Okay, so that's my declaration section, and this is ultimately my return. Obviously, I want to do some processing in between. So there's a number of different ways I could actually do this conversion stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first check to see if the percentage grade is valid. Okay, so I'm going to do that with a simple if statement. So if the percentage grade coming in is greater than or equal to min grade, oh, it's complaining about percentage grade probably because I've spelt it inconsistently. Okay, if it's greater than or equal to the minimum grade and it's less than or equal to the maximum grade, then I'm good to go. Okay, so if that's the case, and I'll just close off the body here. If that's the case, then I want to go through and figure out what the letter grade is. And I'm going to do that using an if-else chain. Again, I don't expect you to necessarily just watch me type here, although this might be a good opportunity to pause the video and get caught up. At any rate, I'll explain. So assuming we're in the right range, if the grade is less than 90, or sorry, greater than or equal to 90, then it's an A plus. There's no redundant conditions here. I'm only testing the top end because I already know it's valid. So I know it's less than or equal to the maximum grade. Otherwise, else if it's greater than 85, then it's an A. Greater than or equal to 80, it's an A minus, and so on. This basically just replicates that chart. All right, so this is the whole function, whole method, I should properly say. So again, if you want to pause the video I wish I could show you more of that on the screen. I wonder if I can shrink this down a little bit so you can see a little bit more of it. And then we'll move on to percent to description, which is going to be more or less a copy-paste job. All right, so next up is dealing with the percent to description. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a copy and paste job. I'll pause the video here and let you see it in a second. There we go. So because these two methods were so similar, I literally just copied the other one and made some changes to it. So it's obviously now called percent to description. It converts the numeric grade to a descriptive string. And of course the signature is almost exactly the same except for the name of the function. And that's actually pretty critical for something we're going to try later on. It also has a minimum and maximum grade. That's no difference in a string feedback variable. Still checks to see if the percentage grade is in the right range. And I still have an if-else chain that does the actual conversion. The difference, of course, being is there's slightly less cases here, only because conditional pass is there was such thing as a D plus and a D, whereas both of those are a conditional pass. As well, I think the C, anything between 50 and 60 was acceptable. At any rate, fewer cases, long story short. So I made those changes. You'll note in both cases I didn't bother making constants for each one of these different levels. I felt they were self-explanatory enough, and I didn't think that having 19 or 17 constants or however many there are for each of these different levels was necessary. So those are my two conversion methods. What I'm going to do very quickly in main, if I can find it, is I'm just going to do a short little test. This is not a full testing out these methods, although it wouldn't be a bad idea to actually do this, but I'm just going to quickly demonstrate that they work, and then we'll delete that code. Okay, I've added a couple of lines to main here. So I'm just going to do a simple console.writeLine. I'm going to call the percent to letter grade function. I'm going to pass it 88.8 as a literal. And then I'm going to do the same thing, except this time I'm going to call percent to description, and I'm going to use the same number. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to change those numbers a couple of times. And then of course I have my little end of program routine. I output a couple of empty lines using writeLine, and a console.read key just to pause the program output. Actually, what I'll do here is I'll just press any key to end, so it's a little clearer what I'm doing. Okay, so I'll run this little program, and I can see what I get for 88.8 is an A, which is exemplary. Okay, so I can go back to my little chart here. 88 should be in here. It's an A and it's exemplary. So that works out. Let's try changing these numbers here. I'll do 75.5, and just to be different, I'll do 4.5. So I'll run that, and we can see here I've got B plus, which makes sense because it's over 75, and failure 4.5 is clearly a failure. So I should really go through and test all of the different scenarios. Negative 5,000 should be invalid, so I can see that at least that aspect works. So again, yeah, I could test this a number of different times, but I'm satisfied for the moment that those two functions work. So in the next video, we'll talk about, we'll deal with the whole delegate task. I'll delete those.